Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Fight Court. Here with your boy Dean Thomas, also my man Ryan Quinn. Ryan, I wanted to make sure I hit record on this because I know I did that before where I didn't hit record. And I feel so much better about myself because last night I did Laura Sanko's podcast and we did an hour straight and she forgot to hit record and we had to redo the whole thing. Oh, it's miserable having to redo it after you already got all your best stuff out.
You know what's worse than that? I did a whole fight breakdown where I had, what was his name? Melvin Gattori was fighting Forrest Whitaker, and that's how I refer to them.
No. Oh hell nah! And you did the whole thing like that against Forrest Whitaker?
And I never listened back to it. I usually just put it out there. For some reason, I listened back and I was like, "Oh shit!"
Oh man, Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah, Forrest Whitaker was fighting Melvin Gattori.
Hilarious. Oh, that is funny. But this weekend we had a pretty good, exciting matchup going on in Salt Lake City, UFC 307. Your boy Alex Pereira versus Khalil Roundtree. How much time have you spent with Alex Pereira? Because I know you're real cool with Glover and the guys in Connecticut.
I have never trained with Alex. I've only hung out. Well, I hung out with him on 2 occasions and saw him at the gym once. I mean, he's pretty much exactly what you get on TV, which is pretty funny. I remember one night Glover was down. We're all hanging out at Kramer's and we're watching the UFC and we're hanging out real late. And we're all boozing and stuff like that. And he's just sitting there. This is before anyone knew who Alex was. And poor guy. And, I got to put Glover on the spot. Glover should have been like a media man. And he didn't even care to like translate anything that we were talking about. We were just all like, just kicking back and just Alex, poor guy, just sitting there. And then he drove me home.
And Alex drove you home?
Yeah, he drove me home.
I'm sure there were no words spoken in that ride home.
No, not that I could say any words at that time anyway.
Does he speak any English back then? And does he even speak English now? No one knows.
I don't know about back then, but when I saw him, very little. When I saw him over the summers, hey, what's up, bro? Cool, you train. Like that was it, which is a lot more than what I remember when I met him 3.5, 4 years ago. But no, I mean, he's still pretty chill, like he's he's just he's as quiet and the introvert that he comes out as, I guess.
But he's got a side to him that is very funny and charismatic because no one tolerates and does videos with Nina Drama if you don't have that side to you. And she's like his main partner for content.
I mean, yeah. I didn't spend enough time with him to get that side of it. I mean, you were in a real chill time with him when you did the Dean Diaries with him. Did anything happen there?
Yeah, he didn't speak any English, but one thing about him that I did notice was that he was very one of the boys type, and in order for him to accept me, so Glover was first because he didn't know who I was. You know what I mean? He come from the jungles and shit. So Glover was initially like, he's one of us, and I don't think he really understood with that, because he had to convince him that I was one of the boys so that I can hang and him have some respect for me. But once he got the respect for me, he was cool, man. We did the song. We tried to do the cold plunge. He did the cold plunge for like 15 minutes. I did it. I stepped my legs in it, and then I put my little ass in it. As soon as my ass cheek hit the water, I jumped right out.
No little ass, but I saw the video.
Yeah. and then I did the well, actually I did that one. I think I did that part first, the jalapeno. He said them hot peppers, and he grows them hot peppers.
They just straight tortured you up there.
all for TV, man, all for TV. And honestly, I didn't even talk about the part where we shot that bow and arrows, and if you somebody in the back going crazy, Ryan, did you hear that?
That was my son. My son screaming. Sorry.
Oh. I thought it was your son strangling a cat.
No, they're trying to get him in the bath, and he's probably running up and down the hallway naked right now.
No, so when you pull an arrow back, when you're doing bow and arrow, you pull it back, and then when you release it, that arrow has to go straight, and when your arm's not in the right place, sometimes that arrow, the not the arrow, but the string, you pull the string back and you release it, has to go straight. And sometimes when your arm's not in the right spot, that string will hit your arm.
Yeah.
Just if you don't know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what I was doing, and I did it twice, and I tore the skin, like through the shirt. I tore the skin off my forearm, and it hurt for weeks, man. It hurt for weeks. And I asked Joe Rogan, I said, "Do you ever do that?" He goes, "No, I know what I'm doing." I was like,
Well, I've shot a bow before, and I definitely did that once or twice. And
yeah,
I know
it hurts like
exactly
hell,
what you mean.
doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I forgot why I don't know. You're not holding one of your hands sturdy enough if that's happening. I forgot I forgot the reason behind it, but yeah, that does happen.
They make it look so much easier on Rings of Power,
Yeah.
you know, and Game of Thrones. It's so much easier. But I know when I was trying to shoot this bow, it was like I don't know, 60 pounds of pressure pulling it back. And I had a hard time doing that part. I was like, I was like, I didn't know this was gonna be a goddamn workout.
Bo Jackson used to do that with his feet, with his damn toes. There's video of it. Hit bullseye.
His toes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's impressive enough that he can aim it, but it's even more impressive that he can pull it back.
Yeah, yeah.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So Alex Pereira, speaking of the man, he's fighting Khalil Roundtree. First thoughts, second thoughts, third thoughts. What do you think?
First thoughts, I kind of like. I'm appreciating this buzz that it reminds me. I appreciate this buzz that people are thinking that an upset might happen. I don't. It kind of reminds me of for Chris Weidman and Anderson Silva. It kind of reminds me to that extent, and I'm getting behind it. I think that if Alex starts too slow, that he's going to clip him. Second thoughts, Alex, I don't see going for a takedown. I know that there's some buzz. I don't know why there's a buzz. I don't. They're trying to like see like I think that's like a media thing. You know, like just someone gotten like, oh man, can the guy wrestle? And third thoughts, I don't know if there's gonna be an upset. I mean, it's like we see, oh yeah, shit. There's stuff behind it, but you know, I think that if we get into the second round, I think the chance of an upset goes way down.
Oh, for 100%. I think after 3 minutes, I think the chance of an upset goes down.
Yeah,
yeah. I think if Alex starts punching on him, the chance of an upset are pretty low. I think I think it has to be kind of tit for tat, and then he jump on Alex and maybe catch him with a shot in the midst of like them in the feeling out process.
Yep.
But if it gets down to like a war, there's no upset in this.
Alex reminds me of Ultron in Avengers 2, where he just keeps downloading more information to not make the same mistake twice. Like, and that's the more the fight goes on, the more it's got to favor him in a fight like that. You know.
I know. I mean, especially when you're dealing with, and it's hard for me to argue this point because we're talking about a man who's fighting for a title, right? It's hard to get a title shot, but you have to do a lot of things right to get a title shot.
Yep.
But when you're dealing with a man who is as one-dimensional as Khalil Roundtree, like how do you not be prepared for that? Like how do you not really fully, truly be prepared for that? I almost feel like, with even Anthony Smith, I know Anthony Smith, and I almost feel like because he's such a veteran, he thought he was prepared for it just based on, maybe his own bias, but he wasn't fully prepared for that. And I know he took that fight on short notice, but he wasn't fully prepared for that. But I'm thinking a guy like Alex Pereira, how does he go into a fight and not be fully prepared for a one-dimensional guy like Khalil Roundtree?
How does he not prepare for that fight?
I mean, how does he go in and just not be prepared to deal with that? I think it's impossible.
Yeah, especially with okay, we talked last week about coaches being yes men. Glover is not one of those.
Exactly.
So
he don't come from that lineage.
Yeah. He's gonna be. I'm sure Glover's got him hand fighting like an MFer, and he's just gonna have him ready for some dirty telephone booth fighting. And you're right. Like, how does he come in not prepared? But things happen. That's why it's a fight. So
right, but even if let's say an upset does happen and he does get clipped, but that's not a lack of preparation.
It's a
That's
fight.
that's missing an assignment in the fight where you just that could happen. Like a lot of things happen. You could miss an assignment. That happens. But I have a hard time believing that if this fight goes a long way, that his preparation will be the downfall of it. That he's just going to go out and be like, "Oh, I wasn't prepared." And I think
Yeah.
that is such a seasoned kickboxer, and like you said, downloading information as the fight plays on, he's going to find so many holes in Khalil because Khalil hasn't really been doing this all that long. He's a powerful guy, but for the same reason why Benoit Saint Denis got beat by Moicano last week, it's just sometimes experience really does matter.
You know, to me, and it's just so weird with that last fight, real quick, with that you mentioned Moicano and Saint Denis. The greatest thing that, and I swear this is not because of my wrestling bias, but the coolest, sweetest thing of that fight was the body lock takedown in the first round by Moicano. That was pretty damn textbook, and that's really tough to do. Just the way he set it up, I don't have a good body lock. It's just, and you know, Saint Denis so stocky, and then that was the tone for the fight, right? Like, yeah, I was pretty impressed with that. You know, we knew that he had good grappling and everything, but that body lock takedown was pretty difficult to hit, as basic as it looked.
Well, I mean, it wasn't just that body lock takedown. I mean, it was everything Moicano did in that fight that stood out. I mean, he really made a dangerous fighter look powerless.
Yeah, we knew Moicano was good on the ground, but to control him like that and do damage in every position, it was pretty insane.
Well, you know, and I talk about this a lot in my classes and in my sessions, is that's delineation. Like what do we do in certain positions? You know, it's typical because we're on the ground. It's like, all right, let's revert back to the jiu-jitsu guy and let's do this and that. But you know, this is not that anymore when we're talking about MMA. And I feel like Moicano displayed a really good showcase of delineation. And that was when he needed to take him down, he got him down. When he needed to pass guard, he passed guard. When he needed to control position, he controlled position. But when he needed to punch, he punched. And he wasn't doing all those things simultaneously. He was going back and forth one or the other to get what he needed. So he would control, create enough space, then do a lot of damage. And then he would go back to control. And then he would get some space again and do damage. And that's where I think the effectiveness came, because he wasn't trying to control him and do damage at the same time. And you can't, I think that's impossible to do.
It is. You're absolutely right. Like you gotta risk positioning, so to speak, when you're posturing for punches. So
right. So that's what I'm saying. And he was able to get a strong enough mount and a strong enough position to punch and not lose that position. And then when Saint Denis started to get a little squirmy, he went right back to straight control, just control. And then now he's controlled. Let me go back to space and do more damage. And when the round was over, and this is what I always tell people, that should be people's biggest concern when you take them down, because nowadays, like, their biggest concern is, what I'm going to do, lose some points or get ridden or get submitted. No, that's going to happen. Not going to happen. But I think when you take somebody's down, their biggest concern should be, damn, I'm going to get fucked up. They're going to bust my face. They're going to bust my face open. That's a different level of concern. And that's a different level of threat. And people will treat your takedown much differently when they're afraid of that, as opposed to just, oh, he's going to take me down. What am I going to do? I'm just going to get back up. But no, he's going to take you down and bust your face wide open. That's a different thing.
Do you think that MMA has kind of lost the art of ground and pound in the last few years?
Yeah, for sure. Which is why I focus on it, because I try to focus on things that nobody else is doing. Yeah. But it sucks because no one else is doing it. Everybody looks at me and go, well, who else is doing this? And I go, well, nobody. And then they go, well, clearly it doesn't work. And I'm going, well, because no one's doing it, clearly it does work, just no one's doing it. You know, that's the way I think. I'm an outlier.
Yeah.
Maybe I think like a supreme being, but most people like to think like everybody else.
Let's face it, it's a striking, favored, entertaining sport, so to speak. So that's what is getting promoted, so to speak. But like, if you could put together real ground and pound, that's still striking. So
that's what I'm saying.
And it's also, but let's face it, that's also way more difficult to work than kickboxing and boxing.
Right. But think about that for a minute. Think about if you had a reputation of like Moicano's performance. Let's say he did his last 3 guys like that, and at the end of the first round, all 3 of them look like that. Think about the reputation he would have and the level of excitement
Yeah,
that he would have surrounding him based on the fact that when you knew he was taking you down, this was about to happen to you. Like that's a different level. Like that's exciting to me.
it's
I think
totally exciting.
fans, yeah, fans would get behind that because they would be like, "Yo, man, this guy gets you on the ground and just Donkey Kongs your ass."
They would start giving it a nickname like the Abyss or something, like
Yeah,
going down and just
yeah,
and
right, yeah,
yeah, like at
I
least I
know.
would.
So yeah, Moicano had a great performance, man, and I think that he established himself. I think the next fight for him, without question, should be Patty Pimlet.
Yep,
Um, there's no question about that. I think these guys have been on a collision course towards each other, talking about each other, and they rightfully deserve each other in terms of stardom.
I'm with it. I'm all about that fight. Yeah, yeah, that's the one to do.
So let's go back to 307 for a minute. So
Yep.
that's we talked about the main event. How about the co-main event? We got Julianna Peña returning after quite a lengthy layoff, especially for her. You know,
Mhm.
normally, we're used to seeing her around a little bit more often, taking on Raquel Pennington. And me and Alan Joban talked about this fight earlier. He actually thinks that it's going to be an exciting fight because of how tough they are. I think it's going to be a boring fight because Raquel Pennington will not allow this to turn into a scrap. What do you think?
I disagree with you. I think that I agree with your band. I think it's going to be exciting. I'll tell you why. Uh, Juliana comes forward pretty hard. Her striking isn't all that great, and I tell you, man. Now, granted, it's going to be interesting to see, how Raquel looks. She's not young, but it's really impressive the adjustments she made in her game in the last few fights to get that title. And the biggest adjustment is she finishes exchanges better than anybody in that division now with boxing. Her boxing has gotten better, and she finishes exchanges. When someone's coming forward and taking punches against somebody that finishes exchanges, it's good shit. And on top of that, you're going to see Juliana every once in a while. She's going to shoot underneath those boxing combinations being thrown, get that takedown. I don't think she'll be able to do much with it though. But yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting fight. I think that Raquel keeps that belt just by tagging her up as she's trying to get in, like
I'm
where Amanda had the power against to win against Juliana in the last fight. Raquel's going to have the numbers,
the
the
volume.
volume. Mhm.
I'm hoping you're right. I'm hoping I'm wrong on this one. I really do. I really do hope that it's exciting. I So here's my thing. I'm torn on, like, we always say who we want to win. It's not that I want somebody to win because I like
Yeah,
them better, but I would like this. I like Rocky's story, like the
yeah.
fact that she was like her record. She's had a terrible record,
Mhm.
but she went on this run, became the world champ, and doesn't care what anybody thinks about her, and she's on this incredible run. So I'd like to see her retain that just for that reason, because like it's a great story in resiliency.
I
Um,
agree.
but at the same time, Juliana, she's such a dog and she's such a character. And the main reason why I want to see her win is because I would like to see her fight Kayla Harrison, because I do believe that if she can beat Rocky, that she has more of a chance and more of a style to beat Kayla Harrison than anybody else in the division.
I don't know if I agree with you there either.
Well,
Because
go ahead, tell me.
I think that Kayla's just too strong, and she's going to get away with some mistakes in the grappling against Juliana. Um, where I think that I guess I'm just overly impressed, maybe too much, with Rocky's boxing improvement. That she'll create those angles that Kayla's just not good at catching up with sometimes. Although Kayla's head movement looked a lot better in her last fight. Um, Yeah, I just think that when this is the ultimate game of rock, paper, scissors, and
Mhm.
I think the minor tweaks, I think they favor Kayla against Peña, and I think that they favor Rocky against Kayla. Now, Kayla, if she gets a hold of Rocky, it's a different story. But as far as being as far as being better matchups against Kayla, I think that Rocky has it.
Well, here's why I think it's because, like you said, when Kayla gets a hold of you, it's a wrap. It's a wrap, and everybody's trying to train these females to fight Kayla as if they can defend the takedown.
Mm-hmm.
And they're training them to defend the takedown, or get fight hands and get back up, and it just doesn't work. I mean, it doesn't work. It hasn't worked. It doesn't even work for most men. It only works for it's only worked for like a couple dudes. It just the numbers suggest that it doesn't work. But what has worked against Kayla, and I talked to Jucal about this because he trained Larissa Pacheco. He said we really developed her guard to slow Kayla down. And if you can slow her down, you can be able to, one, create an offense, and two, it's easier to get back to your feet.
It's very smart.
Yeah. But the problem is when you don't develop your guard and your initial reaction to getting taken down is stand back up, give up your back and stand back up. You put yourself in a deeper hole.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not good enough to do that. So, and that's why I say Julianna Peña has the guard, if not the guard skill, she has the guard mindset of going, all right, I'm gonna be in my guard and I'm gonna try to hurt you, and that's, she's a little wild like that. But I just don't see, Raquel Pennington or Norma Dumont or Caitlin Vieira, any of these other girls thinking, yeah, man, I'm gonna, if she takes me down, I'm gonna be okay in my guard for a little bit, and then I'm gonna work my way back up. I see them panicking, making mistakes, getting their guard passed, getting mounted because they made tremendous mistakes because they didn't develop a good enough guard in camp.
Comes down to the guard. Okay.
Comes down to the guard. Again, these, when we talk about our tools and our skill sets, everything has a place somewhere. Everything has a place somewhere. Don't neglect anything.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of when you want to pull it out and use it.
You young fighters, if you're watching this, you're not going to be great at everything. Like, I'm never going to be an Olympic boxer, but so I had to know which parts of that game to add into mine. I knew if you're trying too hard to learn something else, you're going to kind of lose your identity as a fighter. And relying on the guard and not worrying about so much about defending the takedown it's much more at home for somebody like that. So
yeah. I tell you what, man. So I'm all about learning, and sometimes it's hard for me to learn things because I'm always the one teaching.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm always studying. That's where I do most of my learning. It's like, oh man, this guy did something cool, so let me try to work that in the lab. But I had Dorian Price come down to the Goat Shed the other day. Dorian Price, tremendous clinch worker. He trained Matt Brown and Stipe, a bunch of guys. But man, did he show me some stuff with elbows that I was like, yo, I might come out of retirement.
Damn.
He showed me some stuff with elbows, and it makes sense to me. It makes total sense why Matt Brown has the second most knockouts in UFC history, and his elbow game was nasty.
Who did he have the one classic knockout against? It wasn't Eric Silva, right?
It was Diego Sanchez.
Yes, that was it. Yeah,
where he grabbed the leg and he just said, "Bow."
Mm-hmm.
It was nasty, and my man showed me some elbow stuff. I was like, "Yo, I wish I knew this when I was fighting." Like, where were you at when I was training for fights? I had these idiots yelling at me to to do dumb stuff, man, and you over here with this type of knowledge. Where were you when I was fighting, dog? Hey, I was pissed off. So, speaking of Kayla Harrison, how do you feel about her fight with Caitlin Vieira?
I think it's a solid win. I think that I don't see. I think that Vieira is going to be able to, keep herself safe, keep herself in the fight. But I think that as far as the jiu-jitsu and the wrestling, the judo and the wrestling is concerned, I think that Kayla is she's just going to be too much. She's just going to be too much. You're going to see a lot against the fence. You're going to see a lot on the ground. I don't see a finish happening. And on top of that, Ketlin is kind of slow. And if you're slow against the Kayla, Kayla's not crazy fast, but she's going to be quicker than Ketlin. And I think that that's going to make up for a lot in this fight.
That'll be interesting to see then.
Yeah.
again, I always look at how I think they prepared for the fight, and more often than not, they prepare for the low hanging fruit, and they do the hardest work towards the low hanging fruit and forget what they're good at. And I kind of feel like that with when you're preparing for Kayla Harrison, like you're going to get judo tossed, you're going to get taken down. So how do you deal with that? And I feel like they over prepare for situations that they can't overcome.
Right.
And then they get worse at everything else. And I feel like that's going to be a classic example in this fight. Prove me wrong, though, Caitlin Vieira. Prove me wrong. Call me a liar. Make me a liar out of this.
If you were running Ketlin's camp, how are you beating Kayla?
Same way Jucal did Larissa Pacheco, right? Because we know this is that regardless of how much experience she has, Kayla Harrison is still a little uncomfortable on her feet. Right, she's still a little uncomfortable on her feet, and it's going to take someone probably like Norma Dumont, her skill level, to beat that part. But then you're not going to stop the judo. You're not going to stop it. It's because she's too good at changing directions. So like you might get away from the first takedown, but she's going to hit you with the second one, or you might stop two full takedowns and disengage, but she's going to catch you eventually, and eventually you're going to go down. But what are you going to do when you get down there? What are you going to do? You give up your back? You get your guard pet? Like, you got to have something to do when you get down there that's not only just defensive, but threatening for Kayla so that she doesn't want to be there in the first place. And I think that's the key is you got to want her to not want to be on the ground with you anyway. So she can pick her poison. Okay, I can take you down, but I'm not safe there either. On the feet, I'm not safe here either. So where am I going to go? And I think that's the way to play the game against Kayla Harrison.
Yeah. That's interesting. So with all these, actually, 307 is actually a really good card. I think that there's a lot of stuff in between, like, the sphere, people are talking about that or whatever. I think it's going to be a really good card. But the biggest thing that's going to happen, the real prelim main event. Do you know what the real prelim main event is?
Ryan Spann and Oven St. Preux?
No. The real prelim main event is Joaquin Buckley.
Oh, man.
And Daniel Cormier. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen immediately after Joaquin. Because you know why I say that? Because when WWE had Sunday Night Heat, it was from 7 to 8 o'clock, and on pay-per-view nights they still had it. And then some crazy shit would happen where everyone would come in the ring and be like, "Whoa, you got to tune into the pay-per-view." And that's exactly what's gonna happen after he beats Stephen Thompson. He's going to say some shit. They're going to shove each other back and forth. And Rogan's going to be there. Wow, guess you better buy the pay-per-view for $80 to see the next 30 seconds of this. And thousands of people are going to do it.
Well, Joaquin Buckley and Daniel Cormier got beef. So
real beef.
They got beef. So like that's going to be so interesting to see what happens. If Joaquin Buckley wins, we are not going to hear the end of this because he is going to go over to DC at the little commentator's booth, and he is going to talk trash. Now, if he loses, he gonna bow his head and tuck his tail and walk out the octagon. But if he wins, oh man! And I kind of think he's going to win. What do you think?
I think he's going to win. I really appreciate Stephen Thompson. He's just slowly declining in his fights, and Joaquin Buckley's just too athletic.
For sure, and that's what Wonder Boy's advantage was in terms of using his karate style, was that he was faster than everybody. He already had the length. He understood where he wanted to be before you, and then physically he was faster. But now he's, all those skills the physical attributes have declined, and I can't see him keeping up with a guy like Joaquin.
I'm totally rooting for Joaquin. I used to hate on this bullshit. I think I even said on here how stupid this is but now I'm all about this shit show, man. I'm just like, yeah, keep it. I'm like trying to think of ways that I can fuel this fire on social media or something like that.
If Joaquin wins, man, that's gonna be so fun. We got to do it. We got to do a special reel or something fun for Joaquin when he wins.
Yeah, Daniel seems to be getting less and less patient about it. Just like, oh, this kid again. Like,
yeah.
You're gonna do this your whole career.
It's such a thorn in his side. So Ryan, shout out your boy, man, who makes the the little snippets, the little thumbnails.
Oh, Graphic Addicts. Check him out. He's on my Instagram right now. Snoop Dogg is his profile picture. Check him out. Does great work. Always hooking us up. Thanks, bro.
If you need thumbnails, go to my man at Graphic Addicts. Make sure y'all check out Fight Bananas. We are on there now. Fight Bananas doing things. So Ryan, it's been real, man. We're gonna catch up again. Let's put out some more content. Let's make this thing happen. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you hit like, share, subscribe, comment on it. What else you got?
Forgot one thing. Sorry. If you are in South Florida at the West Palm Beach Convention Center on Saturday night, you could see your boy doing the color commentary for Made Men Promotions. It's a great amateur MMA show. Can't wait to do it. Always love doing the color commentary. You could also check them out on Instagram on where to stream it.
So on that note, this court is adjourned.